So I'm usually handing out grades after the game. However, this time I brought along Professor Powell, Marvin Powell III, MVP3. He's going to help me grade the team after their win over Northwestern. Trojans, they're 7-2. They beat up on the Wildcats 38-17. We're also going to pick our team MVP on both sides of the ball. That's coming up on this episode of Locked On USC. Plus, a little preview of what's going to happen in these last 3 games. That's all coming up next.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone, and welcome to Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is also the #1 sports podcast network. So whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, you pick the platform, you download it, you listen. It's free, and the show is always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, if you can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, guess what? You're getting $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the entire app. Download the FanDuel app today. All right, Professor Powell, let's just get right into it. We're going to talk about the defensive grades. This segment, we'll move over, look at the report card for the offense in the second segment. And then we're going to close out the show. We've got 3 games left in the season. Can you believe it? So we're going to start previewing what's going on. And we're going to start with Iowa. But first, we got report cards we got to give out. I want to start on the defensive side. I want to start with the defensive coaching. This is my grade. You can tell me what you're going to do, what you gave them. I'm giving them a B. Now, here's where I'm coming from. I, like you, we watched those first 2 offensive drives for Northwestern to start that game. And it looked like it was going to like a really long night. Like USC's defense isn't going to be able to stop the run. Here's the thing. I liked how the secondary looked most of the time. And I really liked the second half adjustments they made up front. So that's why I gave them a B grade. Now, I'm still waiting for the linebackers to have 2 good games in a row, though. So that's where they get the B. What did you give the coaching staff as far as how they prepared that side of the ball?
So for this last game, we won the game. We
Sure.
went up against a very good offensive line and some guys who could run the ball. I'd have to give them a C+, to be honest with you. Yeah, just because I have a very good understanding of, just like you do, of what the standard really is and what it should be. And when you bring in this all-star defensive coaching staff, which we did and we do have. And you have some of the guys that we brought in the portal, some of our guys that we've had since they came out of high school, and just the expectations and just knowing what other championship and other SC defenses have looked like. This is a C+ effort, I would say, just in the last game. And it probably would be a little bit higher if you look overall through the season, maybe a B-, but they're a C. I'd give them a C+.
Okay. Let's get a little bit more specific now. We'll peel back the layers a little bit. Let's talk about the defensive line. I gave him a C. I wanted to give him a higher grade. However, I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I mean, the first half, those guys were getting pushed around. And Northwestern, they were running the ball like crazy. Now, in the second half, they found their pride. They turned their page a little bit. And Jade Abasiri lifted that group. So overall, defensive line, I gave him a C. I just didn't see a whole lot there.
Right. I would give the D-line a C+, just because we had a couple sacks, which we hadn't had, I feel like, in a couple games. And again, I felt like we did okay against that run game. We knew they would come to run the ball. We knew they didn't have any kind of prolific passing offense. So, I mean, we knew what the task was going into the game. The coaches, the players, the fans, anybody who's been watching USC football knows our Achilles heel and knows what Northwestern was going to do. So, based on the fact that in the run game, I felt they made some plays. I felt they opened the game up 2 consecutive scores. They didn't fall apart. We didn't fall apart. As you said, we got better in the second half. So again, just knowing what the standard is and what it should be, I'd give them a C+ up front.
That's fair. I can go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This has probably been the weakest position group throughout the season. And it's a shame we're talking about them like this, but the linebackers. I mean, if I told you that Eric Gentry and Desmond Stevens combined totaled 7 tackles, you would probably say, well, Mark, they both missed a bunch of action during the game. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. In fact, both of them combined for just 3 solo tackles between the two of them. I gave him a C-. What's going on there, man?
Listen, again, we brought in big name Rob Ryan, who I like. I like the hire. I like what I like the fact that our defense has played pretty decent the last couple games, and he's a part of that. We said a lot about the linebackers in that Illinois game, in Notre Dame, and to be honest with you, they don't show up enough for me. They don't show up enough for me at all. You don't hear the answer. And you don't see the huge impact plays from the linebackers. Look, I played with Chris Claiborne. I played with Zeke Marino. I played with Sammy Knight when he was a linebacker his senior year. Mark Cassano, the Notre Dame killer. I mean, I know what linebacker play is supposed to look like. I understand the impact these guys should have. And I saw all the Pete Carroll linebackers, So for me, listen, Desmond, I think he's a second to third year player. Gentry is his last year. Gentry got a lot of press this year going into the season. I think he was in some preseason list, and I'm fine with that. That's okay. I think he's a really athletic player. I like him. I think he has a chance to play on Sunday potentially just because of his size and athletic ability. But I don't see the linebackers show up the way I would want them to, and that's been a big part of our issues with the run defense. They're just not filling the holes as the way I think they should. And we spoke a lot about assignment football and playing downhill and. It's been too much talk of that. You know what I mean? So, I feel like the first half of the season, man, we just weren't getting it right. Against Northwestern, again, we stopped. I feel like overall we stopped a good run offense, but still we're not. I don't think we have the productivity at linebacker like we need to if we're talking about a championship caliber defense, which is what SC is all about.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly with that last statement you just made. In fact, I should get Keith Biggers to come back on the show. Friend, he's been on before, played linebacker at USC. That dude was a violent guy when he was on the field. I would love to get his impression of this linebacker group compared to, some of the names you brought up, which are,
Keith played in a different era, man. He played in a different era, with different guys. I mean, he played with some real dudes, you know what I mean? So again, you get him on here and he'll tell you they're not meeting the standard. That's just what it is. I think they've played okay at times. I do. I think that even with just 3 games left, there's opportunity for them to get better. But as a whole, we just haven't had that impact like I feel we should.
Yeah, I was really, I don't want to say surprised, or I guess I was disappointed that they took a step back from how well they played against Nebraska on the road. It's like, give me that effort 2 weeks in a row, and I'll maybe give you some latitude on your next grading. But you can't just do it one game, take a game off, come back and do it another game, and hopefully, you're doing decent. They're not consistent, and I think that's a word coaches like to use the most in their vocabulary: consistency. And they're just.
And with that, they've had moments. It's not like we're not saying that these guys can't play. It's just like you said, Mark. It's consistency, and you have to have that in order to have any kind of success. I mean, these teams are coming at you every play, running this ball. Schematically, they're doing what they can, and I just don't feel like we've responded the way we need to at times.
I agree wholeheartedly. All right, last position group on this side of the ball, secondary. I thought they actually played their best game of the season, at least in conference. I gave them an A-. I thought they were fantastic against the run, especially Braylon Connolly when he came in. In fact, he led the team in tackles. I think he had 6. And when Marcellus Williams and Carlos Nicholson were in there together, they locked it down. I mean, they gave it. I know Northwestern isn't a prolific passing offense, but they only allowed 150 yards through the air. So you're doing something right, regardless of how efficient the other team is when they want to throw the ball.
Yeah, without a question, our corners played with a lot more confidence. You're seeing these guys get better. All of them play more physical with more swag. We're not seeing the crazy penalties. We're not seeing the ball going over their heads and them playing off. And we're not seeing that like we have earlier in the year. I like the growth of our corners. I do. It was a concern out the gate You were seeing just issues, and you were wondering what's going to happen when we play against better teams. And there were times this year where we just didn't play well at all. Again, we go back to that Illinois game especially. But no, these guys have played better. So kudos to Lanton, kudos to Belk. Because they're getting coached up. And yes, I knew this would happen. At any point this year when we didn't play well, I realized that these are just opportunities for these guys to get better. Some of these guys are young, some of these guys are inexperienced. And that matters, and that factors in. And then trying to figure out who are the four guys back there, trying to get that right. Who are our corners? We lost some corners this year due to injury. We lost some players, so we may have guys out there that wouldn't have been there, but the bottom line is this: they're playing better, and you see it. It's obvious. It's showing up the way it should. So with Kamari and Bishop, those guys are good. I like those guys. I do. I like them a lot. I think we have very good safeties. And with that, I would give our secondary a B in this last game. Again, I played with Brian Kelly. I played with Dalen McCutcheon. I played with Sammy Knight. I played with some guys in the back there. You know what I mean? So I know what it's supposed to look like. And I'm not seeing that. I'm not saying that these guys can play like Brian Kelly and Dalen McCutcheon, but these guys are out there playing ball, and they're playing better, and it's obvious to me.
Yeah, no, as you said, the group has gotten better as the season's gone along. You've got Antonlynn, who is a secondary guy at heart, Doug Belk, who coaches the safeties, and Trovon Reed, who's taken over the cornerbacks this year. And yeah, they're getting better. They got Iowa coming up, then they're going to go on the road to Oregon. And they got UCLA. We're going to talk about that in the third segment. But I want to ask you before we close out this segment, who would be your defensive MVP so far? For me, it's easy. It's Bishop Fitzgerald. Give me those 5 interceptions. And he doesn't make mistakes that kill the team. I mean, every now and then, he might miss a tackle or take a bad angle or whatever. But he doesn't do anything that really hurts the team. And again, 5 interceptions, that'll get the job done.
Right. Shelby and Crawford each have 3.5 sacks right now. So when you first asked that question, I think about those guys. But I do think about also the inconsistency we've had with our pass rush. The pass rush was gone. We didn't have it for like 3 or 4 weeks at some point in the season. They started out on fire. I think we had 15 sacks in the first 3 or 4 games, and then we missed them for a few games. But Bishop, without question, Bishop Fitzgerald. Balling. This guy was a great acquisition out of NC State, and he's played well for us in really in a lot of our games. But he's been good. He's a ball hawk. He's physical, and he's probably right now playing like the best player on our defense.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, someone to keep an eye on. He's been quiet. The numbers aren't there, but he's playing really good. I think Anthony Lucas is a guy to keep an eye on these last few games of the year.
Yeah, it was good to see him get a sack this last week. Because again, he's one of the guys that kind of started out fast and kind of disappeared. And the reason why I wouldn't put any of those guys as the MVP is just because of their role in the run game. Part of our issue has been setting the edge, and the running backs just running crazy, bouncing it to the outside where that shouldn't be the case. That's on those defensive ends, those stand-up linebackers. So that's really what eliminates them from that MVP conversation for me.
Understood completely. All right, we're going to flip to the other side of the ball. We're going to talk offense, give those grades out coming up next. College football is not only back, it's almost over. We got 3 more regular season games, and I still couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the playoff hopes for USC, the energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it right now. But let's be real. Sometimes getting tickets can feel like it's more of a battle than the actual game itself. You got those endless queues that you have to wait in, those hidden fees, the price jumping before you check out. All that stuff really sucks. That's why I like to use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. There's no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. And if you pull up Game Time, you can just tap it around a couple times. You're going to see some amazing deals. I mean, you can find tickets to some of your favorite games for as low as $25 per game, per ticket. The app made it super simple. You can even see the exact view from your seat before you check out. So definitely take advantage of that benefit. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms are going to apply, but again, that's promo code LOCKEDON COLLEGE, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. I want to say thank you one more time for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 podcast network out there. Okay, Marvin, let's talk about the offensive coaching. I thought Coach Riley's play calling was on point. I gave him an A. Mm-hmm. You had that first scoring drive, 16 plays, 82 yards, 7 minutes and 10 seconds. You would think they ran the ball the whole way down. Right. Of those 16 plays, it was 11 passes. Mm-hmm. So they were spreading the wealth around. I loved the way that looked. And then that second drive, it kind of ended or began, depending on how you look at it, with Sam Heward, executing that fake punt, and then Jaden Mayaba using his legs to plow into the end zone. So you got the best of everything within USC's first two offensive possessions. What did you think about his play calling and the way he handled the game?
Yeah, Lincoln showed up. I mean, he showed up without question. I thought that the fake punt, I thought that was strategic. I thought that was, us, talking about we have the best play caller in college football. We have this new age guy, and he showed us something. It was strategic how he changed the number weeks ago, as you had said earlier to me. And then obviously when 80 was in there, nobody noticed it. Nobody realized you're not looking at the guy's face or his eyes. He's the punter. He's irrelevant, right? You don't think about him like that. You really don't, right? Even though he's super important. I thought it was genius, man. And really, Lincoln, he looks good when we can run the ball. If we can run the ball, now he's in his bag. Now we're talking about the play action to the tight end and Makai and Jacoby and all these freaks we have on offense. Look, we have one of the best offenses in the nation, whether you like that or not. That's what the numbers say, okay? Yep. And we see it, and we've seen it. You know what I mean? Our offense has really shown up for us for the most part this year. And usually, you kind of, in most situations, you feel like it's us stopping ourselves versus the other team. So yeah, in regards to Lincoln's play calling, the fact that we won the game, won by 21. Our stars got the ball. He got the ball to all the playmakers. I would give him an A for sure. Him personally, just for his calling.
Yeah, we're on the same page. And since he's known for producing quarterbacks, we're going to talk about the quarterback position. I gave it an A. Look, Aiden he finished the game with 299 passing yards, 2 touchdowns through the air. I mentioned his rushing touchdown. He also had, I think, maybe the defensive hit of the game when he got the ball back after that. It was a bad interception, no matter how you try and spin it.
Right.
But he showed me on that play, it was so much more than that. Number one, USC kept the ball, and they went on to score when they got the ball back. But those are the type of things that galvanize the team. All of a sudden, all right, I can trust him even when things aren't going well.
And to speak to the coaching also, him going after that defender and putting his body into that guy. That's Lincoln Riley, getting on these guys, talking about culture and talking about, playing through the whistle and playing to the end and, always competing. These are the things that coaches are always talking about, and which you saw that executed on that play. That was Jaden, playing through a bad play, getting over his emotions within the play and going to make a play. You know what I mean? So he showed mental toughness, mental fortitude, and leadership on that play. And listen, when we're talking about these offensive grades. Again, we have one of the best offenses in the nation. So the reality is, to do that you need it's a totality of an effort. So you need everybody playing well, and our quarterback's part of that. And he's been playing well. Listen, even Hassan, the times that he's played his few snaps, Longstreet has looked good. He showed us flashes. If you've watched all these games and you've watched him take his few snaps, you feel good about what you've seen. Just in a few plays. So yeah, the quarterback position, definitely for that game, I would give him an A.
Oh, without a doubt. And
let's not forget. Do a pick. B-.
Well, he threw the pick, but he made up for it. And
but
it wasn't on the other. It's like, and let's not forget Sam Heward. He threw that dime to Tanuk Hines on that fake punt. It was a laser beam and it was
Mark, you know how hard it is to come into the game. You played like 3 or 4 plays, maybe the whole season, and you come in cold, and you don't come in under the center. You don't come in shot, but you come in as the punter, and you have to throw a 10-yard out, 12-yard out on a rope. I mean, that takes, listen, they rep that thing like crazy in practice. It looks so good that they've been practicing that since the spring. Believe me, they have. You know what I mean? So kudos to the coaching staff for having us ready for that one play, which was big for us. And Sam Hewitt is showing he has a pair.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Brass.
Yeah.
All right. Wide receiver. I don't know how you do any. I don't know if you're going to be harsher than I, but A+. I don't know how you look. The Wildcats defense, they give up 165 yards through the air per game.
Mm-hmm.
Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane, they combined for 235, just the two of them.
Right.
2 touchdowns. I mean, Makai Lemon, 11 catches, 161 yards, 78 yards of that came after the catch. Velcro Lane, just, he sticks a hand up there and he's going to catch it. And he's going to score a touchdown. 7 catches, 74 yards. Here's the thing. Now they're both healthy. And we got them healthy together for the last 3 games. If you're giving them less than an A+, I need to know why.
No, listen, I believe that when healthy, we have the first, second, maybe at the worst, third best receiver duo in the nation. These guys are going to both be first-round picks. But I'll tell you like this. What I love about our receivers, they block. They're physical. They block. Makai Lemon was kicking some boy's butt on one of them touchdown plays or on a big play. And Jacoby the same. Those guys are physical. They're getting their hands on the inside. They're playing unselfish ball. They're in good position. And listen, that's coaching. That's coaching. We've been talking about, this coaching thing, from the very beginning. And these guys are getting coached up. We're getting better. We're getting healthy. It's showing up. But the physicality of these guys is what I love. Makai, when he gets the ball, he runs like a power running back with speed. I mean, he is a bull with the ball, and he's quick and he has some speed. These guys are definitely A-rated this past game, and just when they're healthy, they're going to be an A.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's not a coincidence that Chad Savage joined the staff this year as their inside wide receiver tight end coach. The blocking has picked up since he joined the staff.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. To me, blocking is the best part of the game, so I have an appreciation for people who get in there, for those guys who get in there and do the dirty work, so their boy can get out there and score and make plays, and it's good for the team, but it's also smart, man, because when you block those DBs as hard as they are, it takes something out of those guys. You know what I mean? Yes. So it's also an opportunity for the receiver to get some get back, when they want to be physical and jack up the defense being hit. So I love to see that these guys love to block, and they take pride in it, and they're physical, and they look to finish. That's coaching. So again, let's give credit where credit's due, because Lincoln's taking a little bit of heat this year, rightfully so. But he has our guys getting better and showing up, and I love it.
As Travis Dye once said, no blocky, no rocky.
That's it. That's it.
Same thing applies with the wide receivers. Since I just mentioned Travis Dye, let's talk about the running backs. I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but I gave him an A.
Have to.
I mean, it was King Miller and his little mini court. King Miller, 15 carries, 127 yards. He had that rushing touchdown. He had that huge 55-yarder right after Jaden got the ball back. I mean, that was massive right there. But here's the thing. He's going to need some help going through the rest of the year. He kind of got a little bit of a stinger at the end of the game. We saw a little bit of Harry Dalton. We saw a little bit of Riley Wormley. But right now, Brian Jackson, whether either that turf toe is still really bothering him, or he's just being tentative going through the hole.
This is one of those. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just go ahead. King Miller needs some help, but he alone was worth an A.
Yeah, I haven't had turf toe, but I know a lot of guys who have, and that injury it's no fun. You know what I mean? And listen, you could be a big, strong, 220-pound running back, and your little pinky toe in your foot can slow up everything, mess up everything for you. You know what I mean? So if his balance isn't right, if his get off isn't right, you can't really push off it. If it's tender, you're going to see that. And I thought he looked off this last game, because I know this guy is good. I believe in Brian. Again, he was one of the premier back coming back in the conference this year. He was considered to be one of the best backs in the Big Ten coming back. So, it's something going on with him. And you're right, we're going to need help. King Miller's playing. I feel like he's getting better and better every game, more confident. I believe that. Listen, again, he was a third, fourth string guy going into the season. So, he wasn't getting a lot of the first team reps, and he was getting in the games because we had, big wins. But, when he came in there as a starter, I thought to myself, this is going to be an adjustment for him. It's different being the passenger versus being the driver. You know what I mean? So that takes, you have to take some steps mentally getting ready for that. So he looked good, man. The kid's getting better. Good young kid. And I'd have to give him an A for what he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's blow through these last two position groups so we can move into the third segment. Tight ends. I gave them an A-. Not huge receiving numbers, but they stepped up when their number was called. And we were just talking about blocking. They do all those little things, blocking, things that just don't show up in the stat sheets.
Right.
McCree, Walker Lyons, by far, I gave them an A-.
Listen, those tight ends play really physical. Lincoln uses those guys as his fullbacks. Really, you see them in the backfield, you see them offset, and these guys are coming around, going up in that hole, getting those linebackers. He's using them, pulling with linemen, and they play really physical. So when you look at the ground game and the success of King Miller, you have to look at those tight ends who are the lead blockers in a lot of situations. Even when they're not the lead blocker, if they're on the line of scrimmage, they're playing well. It's not realistic for you to have a really good running game like we had, and the tight ends not show up, because the tight ends are a huge part of the offense. When you run to the wrong side, that's to the tight end. So, yeah, between that and the fact that they showed up again in the passing game this past week, I'd give these guys an A. Okay. And more so because of the run game.
Yes, and I think bottom line is both of us feel the same way. I can't tell you how good it feels just to see the tight end position thriving again at USC. It's been so long.
And Mark, you say like you sound like a broken record, but again, when you have, a top 5 offense, top 8 offense, which we have, that's what the numbers say. The numbers don't lie. It makes sense that each of these position groups are doing well because it's a collective effort. So as we go through, especially this last position that you're going to mention, again, go ahead and start.
No, they work together. And last but not least, the offensive line. This was my worst grade on that side of the ball. I gave them a B-.
Mm-hmm.
They were functional, but again, a little inconsistent. They did enough to help the offense, churn out 482 yards on offense, but 38 points. They'll get the job done 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing it against one of the better defenses statistically.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I thought they were just a little off on the whole. And you can't ignore the fact that you had to take another touchdown off the board because one of them was downfield too far.
Yeah.
Just stop doing that. Whoever keeps doing it, don't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Listen, the reality is this: you can't give the running backs an A, the quarterback an A, and the receivers an A, and not give the O-line an A. The O-line's where it starts. Forget the quarterback. Listen, Charles White, Marcus Allen, Reggie Bush, these guys would be nothing without their offensive linemen. These guys had great offensive linemen. So no different here. Our skill players, our quarterbacks are playing well because Zach Hansen, our O-line coach, is the MVP of this team right now as a whole. He's the MVP, this O-line coach who's played with injuries, walk-ons, switching guys around. And we don't skip a beat for the most part. That's coaching. That's coaching.
All I'm saying is they're not perfect, Marvin. That's all.
I hear you, man. O-line's hard.
They've been outside. But this game, I thought, you know what? They took a step back. That's not a negative as much as I've just come to, and I hate using the word expect, but I've come to expect them to always be at their best, and they just weren't at their best. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, USC is O-line U. We're an offensive line university without question. You look at the number of guys that we've had, the all Pac-8s, Pac-10, Pac-12s, the All-American first-round draft picks, all pros, Hall of Famers. It is offensive line U. There's a standard, you know what I mean? So I get it. I know it. I know what it looks like. And what I can say is, as a unit, they are outstanding. Listen, my heart. Listen, I was worried about the new O-line coach Zach when he came in because he was new, he was younger, he had been there, before, but he wasn't the lead guy. So I didn't know what to expect from him as the head offensive line coach. And he has shown me he is an all-star. he's an all-star coach. He's someone who I hope that we can keep because he's coaching his butt off right now.
Agreed. Absolutely. And he's got a hell of a recruiting class coming in as well on his little group. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on with those guys. All right, we got one more segment to go. We're going to talk about 3 games left. We're starting with Iowa. It's coming up next. The NBA is back, Marvin, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you just want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay, and that's going to give you a shot at a much bigger payout. It keeps everything exciting, keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push at the end. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com, sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, MVP. USC, they're 7-2. They've got a wounded Iowa coming in. I don't know if you got to watch that Iowa-Oregon game. And that was a tough loss. You're watching Oregon walk off with a win in Iowa City with a field goal. What did you see from the Hawkeyes? What concerns you about them when they show up into LA for this Saturday afternoon game?
In so many ways, they're just a much better Northwestern, almost similar. Yeah, just because they're going to run the ball. If it's 1925, 2025, Iowa runs the ball. That's what they run the ball. Okay. In fact, the same head coach for over a decade, 15 years, or whatever. They have a culture that's established. These guys are tough. They play tough football, and there's a reason why we're only a 7-point favorite at home. Okay, so what concerns me, their ability to run the ball. Period. I mean, I think they're going to run the ball. They're not going to pass the ball. They don't have great quarterback. They don't have a great passing game, but physical defense, great pass rusher or good pass rusher on the end. Llewellyn, I think his name is. These guys are stout and tough and physical. So can we control the run? Because that's our Achilles heel, and they're going to do it better than Northwestern did as a whole. I think so. So, since they're one-dimensional, I'm believing we're going to be able to do what we did against Northwestern and Michigan, and just try to load up and make them throw the ball to beat us. That's been where we've been successful with that type of play where we're not worried about the pass. So if stopping the run, that's my concern, period.
2 things concern me. One, their quarterback might not be a prolific passer, but he's the type of dude who likes to take the ball and run. And he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. He's not one of those guys who likes to slide. He will take you on helmet to helmet. The other thing is special teams. They got that little dude. His name's Caden Weegett, I think, 21. Really dynamic. He reminds me of a white Jaquiz Rogers. If you know who he was at Oregon State, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the butt trying to defend. Number one, you can't see him when he's behind the line of scrimmage. Right. And he's got really quick steps and he's got some speed. If he gets some space, he's going to embarrass you. So if USC isn't fundamentally sound, things can go south.
Listen, I expect Iowa, because they're a good team, they're a competitive team. They have guys too. Those guys get paid too. I expect Iowa to come out there and make plays. I do. I expect them to run the ball, make plays, and I expect over the course of the game, our guys to tighten up and buckle down like we did last week. Same type of deal. But don't be shocked if they come out, and have similar success offensively like Northwestern. We have to hunker down and get it right, and make those changes at halftime and make those adjustments. But I expect Iowa to make plays because they make plays all year.
And this, I think, will be the toughest test for Jade Mayaba to date. Iowa's defensive coordinator, Phil Parker, he dials it up. Iowa has a good defense every single year. Just write it down. Iowa, good defense. Can Jaden figure out what Phil's throwing at him? Because he can get sneaky with his zone coverages and all that type of stuff. Get these late, blitzes coming from, places you didn't expect them to come from. that's something else that I think could test Jaden Mayava, his mental fortitude, and can he stay in neutral? And remember, he's had 5 games in a row with an interception. I don't want to see 6.
Listen, in that situation, Lincoln Riley versus their defensive coordinator, I'll take Lincoln. I got Lincoln on that. Listen, Jaden knows wherever they blitz from, that's where you throw. That's the bottom line. That's the quarterback one-on-one. Seriously. So just know where your threats are, know where they're coming from, and when they blitz, you replace that area with the ball and get it to the receiver. And that's what League's going to be coaching them up on. I thought Caleb was good at that in college. And I think Jaden's been very good as well overall.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I know we got 3 games coming up, but we're already out of time. We'll talk about Oregon soon enough. And we'll talk about FUCLA when we have to talk about them. But right now, all we care about we're in the playoffs right now. We're already in the playoffs. This is a playoff game. This is a win or go home game. You know what I mean? So we're in playoff mode. Absolutely. Well, look, Oregon eliminated Iowa pretty much from playoff contention. Iowa's looking to do the same thing to USC. And
Iowa's a wounded animal. They're a wounded animal right now. They are a wounded animal. So, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a game. Yeah.
I love the way this is setting up. Oregon eliminated Iowa. Iowa's trying to eliminate USC. USC wins. They get the chance to go up to Eugene and eliminate Oregon. And then waiting in the weeds, you got that other, paisley blue school saying, we're going to be the wrench in the engine. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
All right. We're going to talk more about Iowa later this week. I want to thank you for coming on, Professor, offering out your grades, showing me the light, educating me as well. Hopefully the fans have Locked On USC. Again, you'll be back again later this week. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.
I know.
Once again, thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network. #1. Doing a great job, fans. Thank you.